Alright, guys, our main goal this week as we read the story on Yonder Mountain was to be able to compare and contrast the main characters from the story. We're going to be able to talk about how their characters and their experiences in the story were the same, and we want to be able to discuss how their experiences or how the characters themselves were different. And we call that comparing and contrasting. When we compare and contrast, you're asking yourself, how things are alike or how they're different. Okay, so our little our chart here on the page helps us understand the differences. When you compare, you're asking how are these things alike. Okay, for example, if you were comparing the Three Little Pigs and the story Little Red Riding Hood, you could say the Three Little Pigs and Little Red Riding Hood stories were alike because they both had a big bad wolf. Okay, so that's how they were similar or alike. That's comparing the stories. When you contrast the two stories, you ask yourself, how are they different? For example, the Three Little Pigs and the Little Red Riding Hood were different because in one story, the wolf was after the three pigs, and in the other story, he was after Red Riding Hood. So this kind of gives you some examples of how to compare and contrast. So we are going to try this skill on a different story. I'm going to read the story, The Best Worst Day, for you, and when we're finished, we're going to compare and contrast the main characters from the story using what we call a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is just a graphic organizer that we use when we're comparing and contrasting to help us organize our thoughts. So in a Venn, on one side, you list all the thoughts and ideas that would go with one character on one side. So anything we learn about Jamie, we'll list here. The things that describe Mary or Mary's experiences in the story we're going to put on this side of the Venn. And then right here in the middle where the circles overlap is where we'll put ideas that describe both characters or describe how both characters, what experiences or actions they had throughout the story. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting Mary and Jamie after we read the story The Best Worst Day. So let's begin. Dr. Mary Fernandez would often think back fondly on the eventful day that sent her on the path to becoming a doctor. When Mary was a young girl, she and her friend had gone hiking. They left early while mist still covered the peak of the hill they hoped to climb. The trail was rugged with many loose rocks and tree roots, but the girls were having a wonderful time. After staying with the group for a long time, Mary and her friend Jamie started falling behind. They kept pausing to look at the amazing view that would unexpectedly open up between the dense pine trees. And Jamie couldn't help but stop and to snap pictures of the interesting things growing near the trail. After stopping to look at an enormous mushroom growing on a rotten log, they looked up and saw the rest of their friends were far ahead. The girls took off, running, but the trail was very steep. Suddenly Jamie slipped and fell hard. She yelled in pain. Mary examined Jamie's legs. Her foot was twisted in a funny angle, and Jamie pleaded with Mary not to move it. Luckily, their friends had missed them and came back to look for them. Since Jamie could not walk, they decided Mary would stay with her while the others went for help. After the others left, Mary tried to make Jamie more comfortable. Mary was nervous for her friend, but she remembered her mom telling her that pressure and elevation were often good for injuries. She took off the sweatshirt and wrapped it firmly, but gently around Jamie's ankle. Then she rolled a rock over and used it to prop up the leg. Jamie was in a lot of pain, but said the wrap helped. Soon night settled in the woods. It grew cold. The daytime noises were replaced with strange chirps, rustling, and hoots. Then there was a terrible screech. Mary ducked her head and hunched down in fear. The screech sounded just like the panther she had read about. Jamie noticed her panic and assured her that the tiny, adorable screech owls made horrible sounds. The owls screeched to protect themselves. Despite the cold and unfamiliar noises, Mary found she enjoyed taking care of Jamie. They had just settled in to sleep when they heard the rescue workers. Mary was proud when, after examining Jamie, one of the workers complimented her on how she had wrapped Jamie's leg. "You should be a doctor someday," he said. He was right. So listening to that story, we find that the main characters are Mary and Jamie. Now, Mary and Jamie had some similarities throughout the story, but they also had a lot of differences. So let's focus first on Mary, since she's really kind of the narrator, the most important character from the story. Mary, what could we say about Mary? We could say Mary, let's see here. She became a doctor. We know that from reading the story. Mary is the one who helped Jamie when she hurt her leg. When she fell and hurt her leg. So, Mary's the one that helped Jamie when she fell and hurt her leg. Mary enjoyed helping Jamie. Okay. Jamie, on the other hand, was the character in the story who actually got the injury. Jamie fell and hurt her leg badly. Okay. We see Jamie was pretty brave in this story. She was brave, and maybe I should be more complete with my writing. She was brave and assured Mary that the awful noises they were hearing that night, as night settled in on them, Jamie was one that was brave and told Mary, you know what, it could be just the little cute screech owls making those noises. You know, don't worry, don't be afraid. So she was brave and assured Mary that the awful noises were screech owls. So that helps us understand that she was pretty brave. I mean, there she is, hurt in on a hike in the mountains, and she's the one reassuring her friend, trying to help her feel better when she was scared. Okay. Jamie was in a lot of pain. She was in a lot of pain after she fell and hurt her leg. Okay. So these are kind of things that just describe Mary. She became a doctor, helped Jamie when she fell and hurt her leg. Mary enjoyed helping Jamie. Our character Jamie is the one that fell and hurt her leg badly. She was in a lot of pain throughout the story, but even though she was hurt and in a lot of pain, she was very brave and actually was the one reassuring Mary that she shouldn't be worried or scared as night settled in on them, that the awful noises they were hearing were probably just, the little cute screech owls. So Jamie was a very brave character throughout the story. So these are how the characters were different or had different experiences throughout the story. Now let's talk about how they were similar. How are they alike? They both were hiking with friends. Okay, so they were both on this hiking trip. What else do we know about the two that were similar? Okay, they both had to stay behind when the other hikers went for help. So the two of them were left behind on the mountainside in the forest with all the spooky noises and wildlife, while the other hikers went for help. They both enjoyed pausing or stopping for just a few minutes to look. So they both enjoyed pausing to look at the scenery. while hiking. Okay, they were both similar in that way. Both of them would stop and pause throughout their hike to take in the scenery and look around and take pictures and enjoy the view. So, we have compared and contrasted the two characters from this story, Mary and Jamie. We've talked about how they were alike, how the experiences they had in the story were similar. We've also talked about how the two characters were different, okay? Good readers can compare and contrast the characters while reading and understand how they're similar and how they're different. That helps build our comprehension and really understand everything we can about stories we're reading. So we've done this together. What I want you guys to do while I finish up reading groups is I want you to find a book of your own on Epic, on Raz-Kids, maybe a library book you have, a short library book you have. I want you to read a book, and it's going to need to be a fictional story that has characters, okay? Informational text won't work. Find a fictional story with characters. I want you to read a short story, and I want you in your reading journals to compare and contrast two of the characters from your story. Create a Venn just like we did here for Mary and Jamie. And I want you comparing and contrasting your characters from your story on the next blank page in your reading journal.